Hey guys, we're back with our next episode of our Sryth Fantasy Text-Based RPG. Last time we were doing Proving Grounds 2, which is about the streets, being on the streets and the city streets. So we left Seer because we were under attack by Voldra's Curse gang. So now we've made our way to Talinas. So let's go ahead with that. Thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Let's go. Old Tree Tale. In its secrecy and his dire request that you meet with Rydok, the proprietor of the King's Lodge and one of the Talinas' most beloved taverns, in the back room of his establishment, away from the din of his ever-bustling common room and over a bottle of fine spirits, the ruddy-faced, middle-aged owner lays out for you the problem that plagues his tavern. He tells you that late last night, while he was cleaning up the tavern, he was confronted by a giant rat. He begins to tremble and pulls himself under the helping of the spirits and swiftly downs it. But it was no mere rat, he says, his voice falling almost to a whisper. This beast was as big as Valiant, and my stag hound, but twice as wide. It bared its teeth and lunged at me, and I thought for sure it would have had me by the throat, but Valiant leapt between us and kept it at bay. Not for long, though, before I could grab my trusty rod, the beast tore poor Valiant shreds right before my eyes. More piteous, cruel sight you must hope you never see. Rydok tells you that the giant rat that dragged Valiant's carcass across the floor and down the open hatch and into the cellar. I leapt up quick as that and ran to close the hatch behind it, and that's when I saw it. As the creature disappeared in the room, I caught sight of its tails, yes, tails, and at three of them, I'm afraid, brave friend. And it's most certainly not well. It appears old Three-Tail has returned. Three-Tail. For more than a year, the massive rat, by some accounts the size of a mule, prowled the sewers and the streets of Talinas, stalking the human prey and killing and devouring anything unfortunate enough to cross his path. Wow. Finally, a local hero, adventurer by the name of Romic, who soon after met his fate at the hands of a roaming band of ogres, hunted down with 2 arrows in the hideous creature, and when the rat dragged itself off into the sewers before it could be reached, it was universally assumed that it would soon to come to its rooms. But indeed, for 4 long years, Three-Tail and the gruesome legend he spawned faded into memory. There are more who claim that the rat is not a rat at all, but rather a demon in rat form, given the creature's extremely cunning and vicious nature. There are also many who refuse to believe that Three-Tail was slain and that the foul beast still lurks in the shadowy cities or the forest outskirts. Okay. You recall the tale of Three-Tail, a giant rippling-tailed, triple-tailed rat that prowled the streets of Talinas' capital after dark for over years, stalking and slaying anyone. Okay, and the rat was... Yep, we read this. Unless we're blighted with another three-tailed rat the size of the mule, that was Three-Tail with no mistake, said Rydok. I don't have to tell you, Allison, that having the likes of a giant rat about will do no good for my patronage. In the words of this skits out, every self-fancied monster in the kingdom will be panted all day and night, and what this other beast, no good for business, no sir. Rydok bluntly asks you to accept the task of entering the cellar beneath the tavern and slaying the legendary giant rat once and for all. He tells you that he will pay you 1,000 gold for the confirmed death of the fearsome creature. You accept his offer and meet him in shoulder cross. You follow Rydok to the hatchway that leads to the tavern cellar. There you help him move several heavy bolts that he's stacked on top of it, and the hatch is clear. He pulls it over, revealing a flight of decaying wooden steps leading down into darkness. You might fancy a splash of that, he says, handing you a small vial of Sryth or some such. Better to have it than not, I'd wager. While it gives you final knowledge, you boldly descend the dark, musty tavern cellar. Oh my gosh, it's huge. The wretched state of the cellar is enough to make you never want to patronize the tavern that sits over it. Long-legged spiders scurry for cover as your light evades the shadowy subterranean realm. Now and again, thin strands of light filter down through the floorboards of the tavern's ground floor just above you, and a set of decaying wooden steps leads up to the tavern from here. Oh wow. The perilous nature of the cellar is made plain by the fetid rodents that dwell here slinking into view. The vicious rats turn and run toward you, their teeth bared as they close in for the attack. Are they as big as this other guy? Take a few moments to catch your breath, check over your equipment before you once again settling off in the cellar. You can't help but hope that there aren't many more vermin infesting the place. Let's go left first. He's having babies down here and stuff? Or what? California pays. There's fine milk comes. Oh, there's something going on here. Yes, 4 rats. I got it. Rats, the rats. They're everywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't eat here again either. Okay, nothing going on this way. It's like rats and rats and more rats. More rats. Yeah, let's go the other way then. Just forget it, rats. There's rats. They keep your common weaponry. I'm trying to think about what size these rats are. Like monstrous rats are probably big, right? Every step I take, every little step I take, you will be there at the little. We'll be together. Yeah. And so when I was the corpse of a recently slain human male lies against the wall here. Although the roadman appears to have been dead for perhaps more than a week, decay is rapidly claiming his remains. With a good deal of curiosity, and a larger number of rat corpses strewn about the floor in the vicinity of the human remains, many of these corpses appear to be fairly fresh. You've only just started searching remains of the dead human when suddenly an unearthly chill runs the length of your body. Shaking uncontrollably from the unnatural cold, you step back from the remains, watching horrors of gruesome spirit rises from the corpse. The ghost shrieks loudly, no doubt causing a few ales to spill in the tavern above, and floats towards you. It's okay. What? Boss 5, 12 staves. There's a stave. The spirit howls. It begins rapidly to reveal the moment it disappears. A blinding flash of white light fills the cell, and you wait to find you're somehow more experienced. Like weaponry staves? Okay. Okay. Alright, let's go this way first. Find the decayed remains of a human male lying on the floor. Yellow worms feast on the rotting flesh of this unfortunate soul. With a good deal of curiosity and a large number of rat corpses, I mean, we might as well. I can get more weaponry saved. Oh, this time we get slashing. Okay, next. Which one's this believed about? Oh, a dead woman in a leather tunic and a rusty sword lies across a decaying hand. Just foreign weaponry this time, I'll take it. Going left first, which probably isn't a good idea, but we're doing it. A massive rat nest dominates the wide alcove. All manner of vegetation debris have been matched together to form a tangled roost. It looks large enough to hold several hundred rats, and one very large rat, and a very large rat it is that rises in the middle of the nest. Rising on the nest and this large and most gruesome rat you've ever had this pleasure of seeing. The massive rodent, easily the size of a mule, bears its deadly teeth as it slinks out of the nest and stalks across the cellar towards you. Once open wounds riddle the rat's torso, and the patch of tufty, wiry hair that covers his body are matted with blood and festering with disease. A tree of long, leather tails drag the floor behind the ghastly beast as it closes in on you. This little doubt that you face with the three-tailed and all signs of indication the rodent is trouble. Here in the forgotten corner of the cellar, beneath the King's Larder Tavern, you square off against a now decrepit but still deadly three-tail. The massive rat crouches and then leaps for your throat, its very instinctive drive to kill the human bold enough to enter its lair. Years of the hard, desperate living and undying urge to sate the lust for blood are now over. Three-tails' eyes flicker briefly and then slowly close. The terrifying beast is gone forever. You make a quick search of the nest, which contain the following items of interest. You're ready to continue. Hack off the rat's three tails to present as proof of its mind still wide out before moving off through the cellar. Yeah, let's see what's in the other corner. Much less attack from a bunch of rats now that we've killed this big one. Wood. Alright, let's go. Yes, rest sounds good. And let's leave. You present Whiteout with the 3 separate tails of the massive rat. He does a double take and then shakes his head slowly. No words to describe my amazement, he says repeatedly as he examines the thick leathery tails you placed before him. As promised, Whiteout presents you 1,000 gold tokens you agreed upon. It's gold well used, he says, many years showed the gold as far as most are concerned. Three-tail went to the grave with the Robert's arrows, and I shall prefer to keep that story intact. And that's right below the King's Larder. I'll deny it until my dying breath. Whiteout laughs heartily and again thanks you for your bravery and congratulates you on a job well done. You bid the grateful tavern keep farewell and one into the common room and the establishment where you have taken a well-deserved draught of old meal before the roaring fire. You said you weren't going to eat here anymore. What a liar. Not the PaloBread man. I'm ready for the PaloBread man. Alright. As you're making your way along the low portion of the Bluestone Lane just after dawn, you pass by a bread house that is already bustling with activity. The smell of freshly baked bread, PaloBread in particular, wafting out of the open windows makes you hungry, and you're about to follow your nose across the lane when suddenly a shower of silver sparks pours out of the bread house doors, while close by a chorus of shrieking for the patrons within. The next creature rises one of the most shocking and unexpected sights you've ever witnessed. I've done this already. Dashing out of the bread house, setting it no more than a foot tall, is the miniature likeness of a tunic-garbed man made entirely out of PaloBread. A silver glow emanates from his strange being that he promptly rushes across the street in your direction. Red-eyed patrons pour out of the door and just furiously at the PaloBread man now making his way toward you. You nearly killed the baker! Screams one of the men pointing at the bread man. Stop him! The bread man, with the large raisins for his eyes and nose and a slice of baked pumpkin for his wedge-shaped mouth, stops in front of you, places his hand on the hip and says in a taunting voice, Run, run, fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the PaloBread man. Drop all the bacon and take into flight, and I'll run from you too. I can. Now the PaloBread man takes off running down the lane. Although you're unsure what exactly transpired in the bread house, you give birth to this abomination. You no desire to see apparently murderous bread man escape. Leaving the angry bread house mob, you take up the pursuit, desperately trying to keep up with the breakneck gait of the strange creature. Lungs pump furiously and your breathing grows ragged as you struggle to catch the fleeing PaloBread man. Only with tremendous effort you're able to keep pace with the fleeing PaloBread man. Several minutes in the chase, just as you're nearing the end of lower Bluestone Lane, a city watchman lantern appears around the corner and slowly steps directly in the path of the fleeing PaloBread. Without missing a step, the agile PaloBread man leaps in the air, bounding over the startled watchman and clear his shoulder by nearly a foot. Once past the watchman, PaloBread man turns, places his hands on his hips and says in his haunting voice, Run, run, fast as you can. You won't catch me. I'm a PaloBread man. Total bacon, taken to flight. I run from the mob and I run from you too. I can. Oh my gosh. The flight of the PaloBread man continues with you as the head of the bread house mob, and the lantern bring Watchman rest of you. The odd being shows no sign of tiring, and indeed its pace appears to be quickening as the pursuit goes on. As soon as the group of 3 city guardsmen appear, each of them staring discreetly at the paler man as he rapidly approaches. The paler man boldly steps in front of the tree of guards, places his hands on his hips and says in a taunting voice, "Run fast as you can, you can't catch me. I'm the PaloBread man. I've touched the baker, I've taken flight. I've run from the mob and a watchman's light. I'll run from you too, I can." That the PaloBread man turns and sprints off down the road. The chase resumes. Your legs pumps furiously and your breathing grows ragged as you struggle to catch up with the fleeing PaloBread man. Only with tremendous effort are you able to keep pace with the fleeing PaloBread man. Showing no signs of tiring, he dashes wildly through the city streets. You manage to pull ahead of the others that are in pursuit, but still find yourself a great distance behind the evasive breadman. As you round the corner, you spot the PaloBread man leering a young man in a wide-brimmed leather hat. A fanciful red plume extends from the crown of the hat, and the young man nearly drops the loot he's carrying upon catching sight of a strange being drawing up to him. The PaloBread man stops in front of the very young minstrel, places his hand on his hips, and in a bold, taunting voice says, "Run fast as you can, you can't catch me, I'm the PaloBread man. I've dug a bacon, we're taken to flight. I've run from a mob and watchman's light. I've run from the guards, and I've run from you too. I can." Oh my gosh, stop. PaloBread man, despite all his speed and apparent cunning, makes what can be proved to be a fatal mistake. The strange being turns and dashes in the wide alley and discovered that it is in a high wall several yards in from the street. You're the first of the pursuers to enter the alley behind him, and the PaloBread man turns and glares at you. He defiantly places his hand on his hips and says in a bold, taunting voice, Fight, best as you can. You won't fool me, I'm the PaloBread man. I've startled a baker and I took to flight. I run through a mob in a watchman's light. I run from the guard and a red plumed bard, and now I'll throttle you. I can and I will. And he leaps in the air, and his tiny hands outstretched to clamp onto your throat. With a blood-curdling scream, the PaloBread man collapses to the ground and does not move again. You quickly surrounded by 3 guards, watchmen, the red plumed minstrel, and the bread house mob. Everyone stares in silence at the remains of the strange being. Still looks sort of edible, says the watchman, making the silent. The minstrel and 2 guards nod in agreement. I mean, he's only bread after all. Those surrounding the fallen breadman again nod in agreement. Right then, hoisting the PaloBread's lifeless form off the ground, I'd say that whatever devil possessed the good bread is now gone. Our duty to see that it never turns back from to that who wants leg. Oh my gosh, stop. While passing along a 3-lane not far from the King's Citadel, your eyes are drawn to a muddy leather pouch lying in the gutter. You pick up the pouch and note that it bulges oddly, as if it conceals the object of irregular shape. When you open it, you discover that it contains a ruby and jade amulet of immeasurable beauty. However, it soon becomes apparent that there's more than a magnificent talisman that meets the eye. The instant your finger touches the carved jade, the amulet shimmers and disappears. Your surroundings begin to blur, and the light of day fades rapidly. Curiosity killed the cat. The disorienting episode ends almost as quickly as it began, and as your vision clears, you find yourself in entirely new, unfamiliar surroundings, and witness to a most horrifying sight. You're standing in a stony expanse of ground in the midst of a bleak, grassy moor. A dark stone tower rises up from the back of the rocky crag, no less than a quarter of a mile from here. A sudden angry bellow, coupled with the sound of a small explosion, turns your head to the left, where the source of both noises are revealed to you. 20 yards from where you stand, a lone man pitches a desperate battle against 3 club-wielding giants. The trio of massive humanoids, their blue-skinned torsos covered in living moss and riddled with protruding ends of feasting parasites around their wide-bearded foe. The gruesome giants raise their weighty stone clubs, preparing to strike down the old man. A ball of flame hurtles from the bearded man's outstretched hand and strikes one of the giant squares on the chest, driving the fearsome being back several steps. The second fiery ball streaks through the air and again strikes the giant, this time cleanly removing its head. The giant's headless body topples to the ground. The 2 remaining giants grunt savagely and prepare to bring the clubs down on the surrounded prey. Without a second thought, you charge across the broken ground in the aid of the beleaguered man. As you approach, one of the giants turns and swats at you with his massive club. You nimbly dodge and the blow and move to engage the savage brute or giant. You'll find a blow, sending the towering giant crashing to the ground with a reverberating thud. You turn to find the white-bearded man sprawled on the ground, unmoving it, and forgiving stun the giant's love-striking toward your head. The timely summoning of your powerful fortification is nothing short of miraculous. The giant savage blow was harmlessly off the invisible barrier you erected. The magical shield ripples in phase as you move to engage the last of the giants. Okay, bye. As the last of the giants now dead, you rush to the side of the white-bearded man. His breath is shallow and his face contorted in an expression of great pain. Restoration! Not for me, for him. The man is near death, and when he turns his head to look upon you, you are given the sense that he has accepted the grim prospect. The glowing coin, he said amidst painful gasp. Was it glowing coin in the statue as well, friend? You shake your head and tell you that it was a jading ruby amulet of immense beauty that was a catalyst for your transportation here. He smiles weakly and nods. All my life I was the fisherman, he says, and here in the end of my life I find myself struggling for breath, having taken it out of his bay for some malevolent entity that no doubt causes place harm. There's a dark bit of irony in all of it. You cover the man's head and ask him if he knows where you are. Much to your disappointment, he shakes his head but mentions with his hand toward the back tower, rising up the distance, rising up the more like a dark bony finger. There's no doubt one of the countless realms of the Nevernes. What master of magic has snared and delivered us into it, we may never know. My days draw to a close and will end here in this desolate spot, but it is no consequence. The Lord Father's hand rests upon my shoulder. I do not fear the encroaching dark. In his dying breath, the white-bearded man at last reveals to you that his name is Instiran, and that he hails from the city of Selbadin. He tells you that before the giants attacked him, he was trying to reach the Black Tower in hope of discovering the means of escaping from this place and returning home. Instiran's body suddenly goes limp, and you gently lower his head on the ground. You say a brief prayer over him and fold his arms across his chest before turning and cautiously making your way across the broken wall towards the nearby tower. As you approach the tower, you note that the pale light emanates from the window and its uppermost level. A wide stone arch fitted with tall wooden door appears to serve as the main entrance, and a broad stony path leads up to it. Your eyes are drawn upward to the sky above the grim structure, where several dark-shaped circles are high, perhaps more than a mile above the top of the tower. Apart from the main entrance, you assess that the outer wall of the tower may prove scalable, though such a prospect is certainly not devoid of danger. Illumination. Since the tower's entrance is guarded, you also able to sense the dark-shaped circles high above the tower and no immediate threat to you. Scale the wall. Climb proves to be more difficult than you initially anticipated, and the higher you get, the more treacherous the surface seems to become. You're nearly 3/4 of the way up the tower, without a wall, when your climbing skills put to the test. With a quick footing in the ground display strength and persistence, you reach the windows, encircling the tower south level, and grab hold of one of the protruding ledges. As you haul yourself into the ledge and climb into a wide circular chamber, your sudden appearance has some of the chamber's only occupant, a yellow-skinned reptilian being in blue robes, spins about to face you, his wide unblinking eyes fixed upon you. The red reptilian being bows and gestures at a multitude of tongues. When at last he rises at your own, you signal that you can understand him, and he again bows deeply. My apologies, traveler, he says humbly. You are not the first to stand by the trickery of our realm's dangerous magical trio, and I fear you will not be the last. The red reptilian tells you that 3 brothers, each a master wizard, played this netherral realm to capture beings for the other worlds as a wicked sport. You are lucky not to have encountered them already. You must be occupied in another part of the realm. Also, I fear they would have been wanting to enslave you upon your arrival. You ask the strange being if there's any way to escape from this realm and return to the world of Sryth. He nods, motioning for you to follow him. The reptilian leads you to a charred spot on the floor in the far side of the chamber. There he makes a series of rapid hand gestures, and upon completion of the complex sequence, a swirling blue portal appears. This will lead you back to your world. I must warn you, though, the path is rarely without danger. May fortune guide you, my wayward friend. You discern the reptilian being is speaking the truth. You sense danger around the portal, but do not believe in any way he's trying to deceive you. Okay, bye. You step into the swirling blue vortex and instantly find yourself tumbling through the shadowy void. But the curtain is shatters the silence as your feet come to rest on solid ground. Pair of strange beings, each with the body of a human and the oversized head of a fierce raven, emerge from the darkness that envelops you, and wielding double-bladed axes. The horrific duo moves in for the attack. Oh yes, I've become very tired all of a sudden. The two raven-haired warriors are dead. You step back from their corpses and immediately find yourself again tumbling through the void. When you next feel solid ground beneath your feet, however, you suddenly realize that you're back in a three-line street where the entire ordeal began. You breathe a long sigh of relief as you set about checking over and adjusting your equipment. Thankful to have survived the strange episode, you hurry on the tree-lined street, promising yourself that you will be more mindful of what you pick up than you got it from now on. Will you? I don't think you will. I'm going to end the episode a little short there because I just don't know how long the next part will be. We'll do that next part in the next episode. So hey, thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Peace.